Well, Final X ended yesterday, and wow, just wow. So much happened at Final X yesterday that I want to talk about a few of the key and important things that I thought came from out of all three teams being decided yesterday. So I am Ron Tucker here with Heavyweight Nation, bringing you a recap of some of the biggest important things that happened yesterday at Final X. So much happened yesterday between the wrestling, the competition, the different outcomes. There was so much that happened. I'm going to speak about some of the not so major storylines first, and then I'll get into some of the deeper storylines and go over those more in detail. One of the first things to get out of the way would be the Jaden Cox situation, showing up to weigh-ins with crutches. Still weighing in, but unfortunately injury defaulting in the matchup in the series with Kyle Snyder, allowing Kyle Snyder to make the world team. But all of us are a little disappointed, if not majorly disappointed, by that outcome. We all wanted to see that matchup, but I know me personally, I hope that Jaden gets healthy. I hope that he's okay and everything's going well with his recovery. But I know that, I wanted to see this match. A lot of people wanted to see this match. Happy for Kyle Snyder, though, as he looks to go ahead and pick up another gold medal. Penn State and that Nittany Lion wrestling club proved to still be a dominant force even when the NCAA season is not around. They are being dominant in the freestyle division as well. They had multiple winners and champions yesterday at Final X, including some like Rutherford and David Taylor, Snyder winning by forfeit. They had a lot of people go ahead and win and go ahead and punch their ticket to the World Championships later this year. So Nittany Lion Wrestling Club proving their dominance as well. Some other key things that I wanted to get into, Zahid Valencia making the 92 kilogram spot for the World Championships after losing to Aaron Brooks at 86 kilograms at the U.S. Open, and then coming back and winning the World Team Trials at 92 kilograms, and then beating Mike Machiavello in a pretty dominant fashion at Final X yesterday. Some other things, Gable Steveson coming in off of the hiatus. He has been on a roll. Wasn't as dominant in the matches against Paris as he has been in the past, but he still showed that he is one of the greatest wrestlers that we've seen. The Greco and the women's divisions all had great matches, but let's now get into those important and in huge storylines that we saw come out of yesterday. The story that everyone wants to talk about right now is one of the greatest wrestlers, arguably the greatest wrestler of all time, Jordan Burroughs, losing 2-1 in the series against Chance Marsteller. This series went down to the wire as the first match, Marsteller was up 3-2. He thought he had the match won. That was up until the Jordan Burroughs corner decided to go ahead and challenge for Marsteller grabbing onto Burroughs' singlet. This ended up in Burroughs receiving a point and winning that match 3-3 based off of criteria. Then going into that second matchup, Marsteller went ahead and won that one 5-4. And then going into match 3, Marsteller put an exclamation point on the match, on the series, beating Burroughs 8-3. As an African-American male in the sport of wrestling, there wasn't a lot of people that I could look up to at a young age. That was until Jordan Burroughs won that gold medal in 2012. That's when I started to look up to somebody within the sport of wrestling, somebody that I could connect with. He won that gold medal, and, I followed him ever since. One thing that I have noticed in the recent past is Jordan's last-minute kind of go attacks, right? We all have seen it, the sock pull up that he does when he's down. And we all say, when he does that sock pull up, it's over. But at the same time, I look at it as like, why couldn't that happen before? Why does it have to be last second? And I think it finally caught up to him. Chance Marsteller, somebody that is not only a fantastic wrestler, but has also wrestled Jordan throughout the past several years. He has studied him. He knows exactly what Jordan's going to do. So Marsteller had him beat there. He was the better wrestler this weekend. Congrats to Marsteller. I do think that he is going to do fantastic at the World Championships this year, and I wish him the best of luck. With Burroughs, I know he said that next year is going to be his final year, his final run. I do wish him the best of luck in that. You hate to see him go, but a legend in this sport, and we should thank him and congratulate him for all that he's done. One of the other men's freestyle division matchup series that I want to go over is Nick Lee defeating Yanni at 65 kilograms in 2 matches. Yanni, coming off of his 4th national title, the 2nd wrestler at Cornell to do so, he has been on this path to go ahead and go and fight for world championships. He's been on a couple of different podcasts, or a podcast in specific, where he stated that he's looking to go ahead and win. His goal now is to go ahead and win as many championships as he can. Whereas now Nick Lee, had different ideas. He came into this matchup knowing how to beat Yanni. He's beat him before, 16-8 at the 2020 Olympic trials for Tokyo. Nick Lee knew how to beat Yanni. I said it before in a previous video regarding the U.S. Open, top 10 matchups there, McKenna versus Nick Lee. I said that Nick Lee was going to be a different wrestler going into the U.S. Open because he had a full year to work on his freestyle and only focus on freestyle, compared to whereas before he was focusing on folk style and freestyle. Now with his only focus being freestyle, it clearly shows how good of a wrestler Nick Lee is and how good he was. He didn't have that full potential yet because he didn't have that training. He was still focused on folk style. So with him beating Yanni in 2, that is huge. Yanni, great wrestler, fantastic guy. He has a very bright future ahead of him. Same with Nick Lee. Nick Lee, he came into that matchup against Yanni knowing what to do. That second matchup, that turn that gave Nick Lee, ultimately gave him the win. That could have been, that was a little questionable. I'm not 100% sure on that, but without a doubt, Nick Lee went out there, competed, and he did what he needed to do to beat Yanni Diakomahalis. Another men's freestyle series that I want to talk about is the 57 kilogram series between Zane Richards and Thomas Gilman, with Zane Richards go ahead and defeating Gilman in 2 to put himself in the spot for the World Championships. Richards went out into this series and knew exactly what he needed to do, much like Nick Lee. He went out there with a game plan. He stuck to that game plan. His defense was on point, and I just think that comes from great training and great coaching, and he just proved that he was the smarter wrestler out there this weekend against Gilman. Props to Gilman, though, went out there competing, but Richards ultimately put himself in a spot to go ahead and possibly pick up a medal at the World Championships this year. Congrats to Zane Richards. That was a phenomenal showing. Speaking on Zane Richards, the Illini RTC came out this weekend and proved to be one of the top programs in the country when it comes to RTCs. They had 4 people make the world team for their respective division. They had 3 guys make it for Greco and 1 make it for freestyle. They came out with a game plan. I think that the training and coaching at Illini RTC is phenomenal. Personally, Brian Medlin, he was a great coach. I went to a few of his Greco camps. He is phenomenal. He proved that this weekend with the showing that his team had. We had Zane Richards, Kamal Bay, Zach Braunagel, and we also had Joe Rao. They all came out there. They all went out there and they all put on a show and brought back some world team spots to the Illini RTC. And the storyline of the weekend, besides Jordan Burroughs, I think that was pretty big in itself. But Adeline Gray going out there and making her 10th world team by defeating Kennedy Blades. Even though Jordan Burroughs losing to Chance Marsteller may be the storyline of the weekend, the one with Adeline Gray just stood out to me the most, and I felt like I needed to talk about it. Adeline Gray, who lost to Kennedy Blades at the U.S. Open just a couple of months ago, then went on to the World Team Trials and put herself in position to be at Final X yesterday, went on to beat Kennedy Blades in 2 matches. The first match she won by a last-second takedown, and then the second match she won by pinfall. And then now she is making the world team for a 10th time, putting herself in position to medal and be on the podium at the World Championships. What I thought was so powerful and interesting about this story was the fact that she is only 10 months postpartum after having twins. I don't know if anyone saw her Instagram post, but she had talked about how she was not only rehydrating herself between matches, but she was also breastfeeding her children in between matches. And as a person who grew up in a single mother home for majority of his life, I love my mother. I love what mothers do and what they're capable of, and how strong they are. And Adeline proved that to everybody yesterday, how strong she could be, how powerful women can be. And I thank her for that. It's going to help the growth of women's wrestling. Everything she has done and everything she continues to do just helps grow the sport of wrestling, and especially grow the sport of women's wrestling. I want to give thanks to Adeline for that and everything that she did. She went out there, she put on a show, and she showed why she is one of the greatest women's wrestlers that we have ever seen. I also want to give props to Kennedy Blades, such a young and talented individual. She has a very bright future ahead of her, and she is going to win multiple titles in the future. But for Adeline Gray, her time was just not up yet. Even having kids this late into her career, she still knew that she had what it took to go ahead and put herself back on the United States world team. And with the conclusion of Final X yesterday, we are now set with our teams for the World Championships later this year in Spain. There is still one series that's going to be decided sometime before then at the 57 kilogram women division between Maroulis and Pettis. But besides that, the teams are set. The teams look stacked. The teams look like we are going to be bringing back a lot of hardware to the U.S. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. I'm hoping everybody stays healthy, everybody can get there and be the best version of themselves. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ron Tucker here with Heavyweight Nation. Thank you all for this great week of videos and wrestling content. But until next time, you folks have a great day.